Okay, hello everybody. So sorry. Thank you, Vinu. No. So we were looking at social change, and we have discussed the role of technology. I'll just put hold to the question answer discussion for a while. Let me complete community psychology first of all, right? And as you know, after community psychology, I'm starting with contemporary issues in psychology. Okay. So we had discussed the demographic issue, that how demography influences social change. And then the last factor is environment. Environment. So how does environment impact social change? Now see, this is a very general topic. It will appear in environmental psychology as well. So I'm giving you a concept here and now. ठीक है, आप इसको यहीं पर ले लीजिए, इसको आप हर जगह यूज कर सकते हैं. You can use it in your general studies also, right? So most of the plans which are made by the planners, by the governments, by Niti Aayog, whatever, the planners are obsessed with economic aspect of life. So most of the plans which you will see that are made by the planners, they are heavily loaded with economic undertones. They plan at economic growth, because they relate development somewhere with growth. Although growth and development are two different things, right? So it is believed that if per capita income of the population increases, development shall occur. But human life is not only related with money or economy, it is also related with environment and society. So any kind of development that ignores the environmental aspect or the social aspect will not be sustainable. It will come back where it started from. So it will get back to the zero. So it will never be linear, it will always be circular. You start from the starting point and then you end up where you started from, and maybe even worse, right? How? Let us see. Now, if we talk about economy, economic growth, then economic growth is directly contingent upon GDP, Sakal Gharelu Utpad, gross domestic product. And GDP totally depends upon manufacturing. GDP totally depends upon manufacturing. And manufacturing involves transformation. Manufacturing involves transformation of raw material into finished good with help of technology. Okay. Better the technology, faster this transformation. So manufacturing involves transformation of raw material into finished good. And whenever this transformation takes place, it leaves behind a residue which is known as waste material. So there cannot be any manufacturing without production of waste material. Okay? And greater the manufacturing, greater the amount of waste material. And this waste has to be disposed. The mechanism of waste disposal is known as waste management. Every manufacturing unit, every economic unit has to invest a sum of money, a part of money, which is part of the profit, in waste management. Now, as amount of waste increases and multiplies, the amount of money to be invested in waste management also increases accordingly. And it cuts down the profit levels of the economic units. And there comes a time And there arrives a time when profit nearly equals to cost of waste management. When profit nearly equals to the cost of waste management, okay, the economic units shut down. Economic units shut down. That means when the country has to choose between affluence, that is money, or effluence, that is waste. Effluence is the waste produced by the industries. When the countries have to choose between affluence and effluence, the economic units shut down. Now, what happens as a consequence? When the economic unit shut down, there is widespread unemployment. Unemployment leads to all the social problems. All the social problems, starting from law and order, dowry system, caste system, stratification of the society. So haves in one corner and have-nots in another corner. So you talk about all the social problems, they will eventually emancipate from unemployment. That is poverty, child labor, prostitution, law and order. जो आप बताओ सब अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट से निकलेगा. ठीक है, अभाव में स्वभाव खराब हो जाएगा. Are you getting it? Simply, very simple. So we cannot see a development sustainable that does not take care of all the three dimensions of human life, that is economy, environment, and society. So development has to be economic, environmental, and social. All three aspects of development has to go hand in hand in case it has to be sustainable. And if it does not sustains, then the nations come to substitution curve. Substitution curve. Now, what is a substitution curve? Let's have a look. So if I keep economy in the vertical axis and environment in the horizontal axis, substitution curve is something like this. If you wish to improve the quality of environment, you have to shut down the economic units. And if you wish to improve the economy, you have to compromise on environment, which will be inhabitable, non-habitable. When any nation comes in substitution curve, it cannot survive anymore. The nation has to be evacuated by the population. The nation gets depopulated, leaving behind ghost towns. This is a technical term used in geography, ghost towns. Abandoned cities and abandoned nations are called ghost towns. Now, a living example of ghost town is Boulder City, America, US. So if you see Discovery Channel, there is a show called Haunted. So that show is created in Boulder City. Boulder City में जितने भी घर हैं सब भूतिया घर हैं, कोई रहता नहीं उसमें, और उसमें कैमरा लगा देते हैं भूतों को कैप्चर करने के लिए, और कई बार कुछ इमेजेस दिखते हैं. ठीक है, although it's a myth or reality, nobody knows, but they try to capture some electromagnetic energies in those areas. Why? Because the city became so polluted that it has to be eventually evacuated. And same is going to happen with New York sooner or later. And same is going to happen in Kolkata, which is almost a necropoli now. Okay? So a city so polluted, not habitable anymore has to be evacuated by the population. Okay. So
Sir, please show the previous slide.
Sorry?
The previous slide.
Acha, I'll show you the previous slide. Okay.
Sir.
This one?
Triangle on, triangle on.
Triangle one. Okay. So today, one of the social change that we are seeing in our day-to-day life is that we have to invest a great deal of money just to drink pure water. Okay? We have to invest great deal of money just to breathe clean air. We have to invest a lot of money in our heating system and ACs, which is because we have not taken due care of the environment. So whatever economic profits have happened to human beings, whatever increase in income level has happened to people has not actually increased their quality of life. My father's first salary was 350 rupees. And he could not spend more than 50 rupees because he was a bachelor. And he used to hand over 300 rupees to my grandfather. That was his beginning income. My first income was 80,000 rupees. 2000 की बात कर रहा हूं. मेरा पहला इनकम जो मेरे हाथ में आया था वो 80,000 रुपए था. But my quality of life is no better than what my father led. Why? Because he lived in the pristine beauty of nature. He never used AC, and he did not even require to use AC because temperature was tolerable. Now we just can't think a life without AC. Even in my college life, even in my post-graduation, until my post-graduation, I never thought that someday will come when we have to purchase water to drink. मैंने कभी नहीं सोचा था. I was a geologist before becoming a psychologist, and we went to field trips. And in field trips, I used to drink water from the river. All of our friends used to drink water from the river. And because it was a tiring trip, we used to carry vodka. You know, we would just add vodka and water and drink, and there would be no problem at all. We got fine with it. लड़के लड़कियां सभी. अभी अगर मैं सोच भी लूं ना कि मैं नदी का पानी पी रहा हूं तो मुझे एसिडिटी हो जाएगा. सोचने से एसिडिटी हो जाएगा. Only thinking will cause acidity. Now, why this is happening? Because human beings have not taken care of the environment properly. Okay? And there is a debate going around in the world these days. What has happened? This environment has by and large been polluted by the developed nations. And now, when the developing nations are starting to develop their economy, the developed nations are coming with an explanation which is called Seahawk argument. What is Seahawk argument? Seahawk argument is an argument forwarded by the developed nations that developing nations are creating the problem of global warming and carbon emissions. Now, this argument is forwarded by the developed nations just to arrest the process of development that is taking place in the developing world. Okay? They don't want the developing world become as powerful as them. So they are extending and advancing some Seahawk arguments. Now, I would like to give you pieces of some Seahawk arguments. Let's come to global warming. Tell me, what will happen if global warming takes place? It will lead to climate change, and it will cause what? Melting of glaciers. And melting of glaciers will cause what? Sea level increase. And sea level increase will cause what? Huh? Okay. So, lot of areas,
Coastal
areas will get inundated, will get flooded. Okay. Lot of methane will be released, further adding to global warming. Okay, because it is a greenhouse gas. What else?
Sir, climate change.
Yes. Correct. Now, let me tell you, if all the glaciers, if all the ice trapped in Antarctic and Arctic Circle melt away, it is not sufficient to even increase the level of sea by 1 meter. Are you aware of that? सारा बर्फ अगर पिघल भी जाए तो भी level of sea 1 मीटर से ज्यादा नहीं बढ़ेगा. But what global warming is likely to cause is thermal expansion of water. So anything when heated gets thermally expanded, and thermal expansion of water will definitely increase the level of sea more than 1 meter. That will cause flooding of the low-lying areas. Okay? Now, global warming is a human-induced phenomena or it's a natural geological phenomena. This is the debate. Now, if you look at the history or the geology of Earth, you will find that we are living in the Quaternary era. Okay? We are living in the Quaternary era, and in the Quaternary era, there have been 4 epochs. 4 epochs characterized by ice age alternated by water age. Okay? Ice age, water age, ice age, water age. They are known as Gunj, Mindel, Riss, and Wurm. Right now, the Earth is in water age. It happens because of wobbling of Earth's axis. Sometimes we find the temperature decreasing, sometimes we find the temperature increasing. So right now we are in water age. Had human beings not been in this world, agar human being hota bhi nahi is dunya mein, then also the temperature of Earth would have increased because we are in the water age. What human beings have done, they have added carbon in excess to expedite the process of global warming. So we have accelerated the process of global warming, but we are not the cause of global warming. Let me tell you, agar human being nahi hota, to bhi global warming hota, because of wobbling of Earth's axis. Now, let me ask you a frank question. I'm talking about your lifespan, my lifespan, our generation's lifespan. In your NCERT textbook, what is the amount of carbon dioxide in dry air, according to your NCERT that you have read in very early days of your life? 0.03. 2 कौन बोल रहा है? 0.03. Recheck करो. ठीक है? Now, when I asked my father what is the percentage of carbon dioxide in dry air, he said, I have read in my books. My father said he has read in his books 0.03. I have read in my books 0.03. You have read in your books 0.03. तो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड बढ़ा कहां? कहां बढ़ रहा है? Tell me, why isn't the NCERT revising itself? If there is excess carbon dioxide now in atmosphere than a decade before, then why aren't they revising it? Because it's a myth. One rainy season dissolves away the excess carbon dioxide emitted in air. Do you know that? One rainy season is enough, because carbon dioxide is a soluble gas. It's a very, very soluble gas. It dissolves in water like anything. You can see the Coca-Cola bottle, the moment you open the cork, carbon dioxide. Okay? So, we may not buy a complete Seahawk argument forwarded by the Western world or the Western community. Okay? But yes, the development must be sustainable, and for which we have to focus upon greenhouse projects, greenfield projects. So all the projects which are given a green signal or a head start by the government of India needs an EIA. What is EIA? Environmental Impact Assessment. So once environmental impact assessment has been done, sustainable ways of production and manufacturing can be done. Okay? Sustainable ways of manufacturing and production can be done. So it's the environmental cost versus economic cost. Environmental impact assessment. Now you can also mention about the psychological changes which are taking place nowadays because of environmental degradation. More and more people are taking on to yoga. Nobody thought of yoga in such big way 30 years ago as they are concerned today. More and more people are switching on to vegetarian diet. This is also social change. People are changing their lifestyle. They are switching on to vegetarian diet. Okay. What are these changes? People are becoming more concerned about health. People are getting more concerned about health. More and more people are now bothered about saving in their saving account rather than investing and taking risk. So risk taking ability is also declining because there is decline in quality of environment and therefore health. So entrepreneurship is lacking. It is getting compromised because people are more concerned about their health and longevity. हेल्थ एंड लॉन्जिविटी का इतना कंसर्न है. अब कोरोना ने तो एकदम 12 बजा के रखा. जो फर्स्ट वेव आया था कोरोना में, जो आदमी हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट हुआ वो 7 लाख का बिल दे के गया. अब एक मिडिल क्लास के पास 7 लाख जीवन भर का जमा पूंजी हो सकता है और उसके बाद भी बचने की गारंटी नहीं थी. Isn't it? So commercialization, materialism, these are all increasing as a consequence of environmental degradation. Okay. So that was environmental factors leading to social change. And as I said, that apart from small groups that initiate social change, there are also individuals who can bring social change, right? And those individuals are called leaders. So leadership and social change. Leadership and social change. Leaders can steer social change. Leaders can steer social change successfully. Leaders can steer social change successfully with the help of their traits, actions, with the help of their traits, actions, and communications. There are 3 factors in a leader that help him steer social change. First is his personal trait, second is his actions, and third is communication. So leader may use any of the 3 to steer social change. Let us begin with trait. When we talk of trait, there is a common trait in all the world leaders, regardless of the area of leadership, whether it is leadership related to military or politics or spirituality or sports. There is one common trait found amongst all leaders, and that is a strong desire to lead. Strong desire to lead brings commitment in a leader. They are severely committed to the cause. They're intensely committed to the cause. Strong desire to lead. So if you want to lead, then you have to be involved and you have to be thoroughly involved. Okay? Otherwise, people will not give you the opportunity to lead. Okay? Second trait of a leader is high job relevant knowledge. They know the nitty-gritty of the job which they are doing. High job relevant knowledge make them perceived as trustworthy experts. Make them perceived as trustworthy experts. And the third trait of a leader is that they have high ambition. They're highly ambitious. They have high ambitions. High ambitions make a leader visionary. And they think beyond their own life. And they think beyond their own life. They pursue the ideology or ideas instead of personal gain. They pursue the idea or ideology instead of personal gain. Trait-driven leaders are known as transformational or charismatic leaders. So we will know a lot more about leaders when we come to work psychology. So they are known as transformational or charismatic leaders. Charismatic because they have the magic, charisma. Right? Charisma is an Arabic word meaning magic. I'll tell you about the actions also. Just give me a second. Okay, audible? Fine. Now watch. Action. Action-driven leaders. Action-driven leaders are those who lead by example. Action-driven leaders are those who lead by example. The process is known as exemplification. Exemplification. Exemplification involves practicing what one professes. Practicing what one professes. जो आप कहते हैं वो आप चरितार्थ करके दिखाते हैं. Right? Whatever you say, you do it in action, leading by example. Like committed civil servants, they lead by example. So they become the change, what they want to see in the society. They are the ones who first show up the change and then appeal people to follow them. ठीक है? आप खुद कुछ और हैं और लोगों को कुछ और बोल रहे हैं, लोग मानेंगे नहीं. So leading by example. So they demonstrate the followers to follow their footprints, and such type of leaders are known as transactional leaders. Who demonstrate their followers to follow their footprints are known as transactional leaders. So that followers can also transact the activity or the business in the same way. Activity or the business in the same way. For example, Mahatma Gandhi's non-cooperation or Swadeshi movement. To give power to that movement, Mahatma Gandhi never wore Western clothes. He always wore khadi weaved by himself. So that was the best way to exemplify that you should go for Swadeshi and boycott the foreign products, right? And third is communication. The modern mechanisms adopted by the leaders of today. Communication. Communicative leaders make use of semiotic signs. Communicative leaders make use of semiotic signs. ये हो क्या रहा है बोर्ड को आज? मैं पेज चेंज कर रहा हूँ. I'm rewriting. Semiotic signs. Now, what is semiotic signs? Semiotic signs means signs of signs. Signs of signs. Signs means symbols, references, representations in language. So sign means representation in language. So when existing phenomena, ideas, and objects, when existing phenomena, ideas, and objects are represented in language, they are known as signs. Like if I say a word judgment, do you understand what I say? Are you able to get the meaning? Okay. So I'm using a word judgment, which is a sign, and it conveys a meaning which is understandable to all of you. When I say climate change, I'm using a sign. Now, I'm not making you experience climate change, but you are understanding what is climate change. When I say helicopter, I'm not taking you to a helicopter. I'm not getting a helicopter in the classroom, but you can understand what I'm referring to. So this is a sign. So all the words and phrases present in our language comprise of nothing but combination of signs. SIGNS, signs. Okay? And semiotic scientists play with language. They play with human understanding by manipulation of language. Okay? So semiotic science believes that our actions are driven by ideas, and our ideas are determined by our thoughts, and our thoughts are dependent upon language. So when I take you to language and communication chapter, you will see that how we think in terms of language. We cannot think about anything which is not provided by language. Now see, understand how language originated or evolved. As human beings got exposed to new type of experiences, to address to such experiences, human beings created or coined some words. For example, when man saw the tiger for the first time, how to refer to that beast? Man invented the word tiger. Before man saw tiger, there was no word like tiger, and tiger was an unknown phenomena to human beings. So human beings never thought about tiger until they had the word tiger. So whenever human beings will think about tiger, they have to use the word tiger. Without using the word tiger, you cannot imagine or think about a tiger. Even when you are thinking in mind, you are silently whispering. You are silently whispering what? The language. You just plan. What are you going to do today after the class? Just plan for a while. Imagine in your imagination, and you will see that you are using language. So we think in terms of language, and therefore we cannot think about any phenomena that is not permitted by language. Now, in language and communication chapter, I will give you the experiment conducted by Roberts also, who is a cognitive psychologist. What he did, he presented different shades of snow to two groups of subjects. One group of subjects were white American subjects. Another group of subjects were Eskimos, Canadian Eskimos, who have spent their whole life in snow. And they were asked to identify and discriminate between different shades of snow and name them, like bright white, dull white, creamy white, ठीक है, ग्रे, डल ग्रे, इस तरह से शेड का नाम दो. तुमको दिखाया जा रहा है अलग अलग वैरायटी ऑफ स्नो. American subjects were able to recognize 20 different shades of snow, while Eskimos were able to recognize 2 different varieties of snow, because in Eskimo language there are words that refer to such variations. But in English language there are no more than 20 words that can refer to variations. So American subjects failed to perceive the variations in the shades of snow which Eskimos could perceive. Why? Because they have in their language names that refer to such variations of slow. Okay? Therefore, semiotic science target at language and manipulation of language. Now you understand what is language, and then I'll tell you that how playing with language can change your thoughts, your ideas, your views, your opinions. Language is defined as a set of sounds and symbols which, when combined according to certain rules of grammar, become intelligible to all the speakers who belong to the same verbal community. Language is defined as a set of sound and symbol which, when combined according to certain rules of grammar, become understandable, become intelligible to all the speakers who belong to the same verbal community. ठीक है? तो जो आपके समभाषी हैं, जो आप ही के वर्बल कम्युनिटी के हैं, वो भी उसी रूल्स को फॉलो करते हैं, and it's combination of certain sounds and symbols. ठीक है? And language determines not only our thoughts but also our actions. Now, based on this, we understand the meanings of several phenomena and experiences with the help of language. Now we understand the meanings of phenomena or understanding of meanings is dependent on opposition. Understanding of meaning of any phenomena is dependent upon opposition or opposite. So how do we understand the meaning of day? We understand it as opposite of night. So you clearly understand what is day with the help of night. If you did not have any experience of night, you would have never understood what is day. So day could not be a phenomena in absence of night. Are you getting it? Suppose there are no nights. Just imagine. Then what? Can you understand meaning of day? And what is a day? 11 a.m. is day or 11 p.m. is day? भाई 11 p.m. भी तो डे है, नाइट है ही नहीं. तो डे है कुछ, डे है ही नहीं कुछ. तो डे कब होता है? क्योंकि नाइट होता है. Without night you cannot have understanding of day. So day is understood as opposite of night. Likewise, when I say white, I understand the meaning of white. What is the meaning of white? Opposite of black. So something is perceived as white when it is quite opposite of black. And lesser it is opposite of black, it is more blackish than white. It is more blackish than white. So something which is less opposite of black is blackish. Something which is very opposite of black is white. Something which is extremely opposite of black is brilliantly white. So we understand the meaning of white when we see it in opposition to black. Ram is a god, opposite to Ravan. Ram is not a god in absence of Ravan. Just imagine, in absence of Ravan, would Ram had been worshipped by humanity? क्या होता राम जी का जीवन में अगर रावण नहीं होते तो? 14 साल वनवास काट के लौट जाते. That's it. उसके लिए बीजेपी पावर में आ जाती, राम मंदिर बन जाता. नहीं बनता ना. He became a hero because of Ravan. So no hero can become a hero in absence of villain. है कि नहीं? तो विलेन के एब्सेंस में कोई हीरो बन ही नहीं सकता. सो वी सी थिंग्स इन ऑपोजिशन. Everything has a meaning because they have their opposition. Dilip Kumar was known as tragedy king. Why? Because there was Mahmood who was comedy king. You can't understand tragedy or comedy in absence of oppositions. So something is very funny. Why? Because something is quite serious. If there is nothing serious and everything funny, then you will never understand what is funny. It will be routine, right? So we understand things in opposition, and this is how human thoughts can be manipulated. Okay? Now, there are two types of oppositions. There are two types of oppositions. ये क्या बोर्ड को क्या हो गया? One is contrariety and other is contradiction. One is contrariety and the other is contradiction. Contrariety implies opposite of original. Opposite of original. Like opposite of love is hate. So love and hate are in contrariety, opposite of the original. Contradiction implies absence of original. Absence of original. So love and non-love are in contradiction. So there are two types of opposition that gives us the meaning. One is contrariety, other is contradiction. Love and hate are in contrariety. Love and non-love are examples of contradiction. Non-love means when love is missing, absence of the original. Okay? And contrariety means hate, opposite of love. Okay? Opposite of original. So here, there is one emotion love, there is opposite emotion hate. Here, there is one emotion love and there is no other emotion non-love. So contrariety is example of opposite emotions. Contradiction is example of absence of emotion. Non-love is no emotion at all. We understand things in this manner. Okay? Now, Levin, who has given the field theory, you will learn about Levin's field theory in detail in the motivation and emotion chapter. Levin, who has given the field theory, finds the society as collectives who are divided in opinions. Society is nothing but collectives who are divided in their opinions. So all of us, even this classroom is a society where people are of different opinions. Okay? This difference of opinions creates tension. This difference of opinions creates tension. And society is driven in the direction of maximum force or tension. Society is driven in the direction of maximum tension or greatest tension. So tension is the dominant force driving the behavior of public at large. When two forces begin to operate with equal strength, when two forces begin to operate with equal strength, the conflict reaches a deadlock. When two opposite forces start working with equal strength, the conflict reaches a deadlock. Semiotic scientists, by making use of language, break this deadlock. Semiotic scientists, by using language, break this deadlock. For example, the exit poll reveals that there is going to be a deadlock in UP elections. है ना? कांटे की टक्कर होगी अखिलेश और योगी के बीच में. Deadlock. Society is divided into two different opinion groups and both are operating with equal force. Now comes the role of Amit Shah or Narendra Modi, how to break this deadlock. You understand this way. Okay? The dominant tension will drive the population and the behavior. Okay? So according to Levin, semiotic scientists engage in 3 steps to break the deadlock. 3 steps to break the deadlock. Frame breaking. Frame moving. Frame refreezing. Frame breaking, frame moving, frame refreezing. अब ये तीनों कैसे कैसे होता है, मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूं गल्फ वॉर का, उसके थ्रू समझाता हूं. ठीक है? फ्रेम ब्रेकिंग, दैट मीन्स फर्स्ट क्रिएट मिसट्रस्ट फॉर द एग्जिस्टिंग कन्वेंशन. जो मौजूदा परंपरा है, द एग्जिस्टिंग कन्वेंशन, you have to create mistrust in people for the existing convention. We have to create mistrust amongst people for existing convention. And then people will get tensed. We have been following this convention for years, and now you are saying that it is not reliable, it is dangerous. So what next? They will look up to the leader. What next? And this is the time when leader will guide them. Frame moving. Come with me, I'll show you what is a better way of doing things. So people will move after the leader. बताओ फिर क्या करें? And then people will successfully do what leader has asked them to do. And now they will have trust in what leader has suggested, which is called frame refreezing. Now the refrozen frame will become the convention now onwards. Now onwards, this will become the convention. अब हमारे देश में देखो, as long as we had UPA government, India created an image with Pakistan that we do not make use of force. We are a defensive country. We do not offend anybody's territory. We do not intrude in anybody's area. We respect the LOC. We always are fighting for defense. That was the image of India, and that was the image that India was projecting about itself, that we are a soft state. Narendra Modi played with this. He said India's image as a soft state has not given India any benefit. It has only led to 1,000 cuts. Mumbai terror attack, this terror attack, terrorism will not end. Pulwama, ye end hi nahi hoga if we present a soft image. So, surgical strike. And now you talk about Indians. They are no more ready to go with that soft image. You know, अब बोलते मारो फोड़ो तोड़ो, क्यों बोलते हैं? फ्रेम रीफ्रीज हो गया, घसका दिया गया. एक सिस्टम था, अरे 2014 से देखो कितना दिन हुआ, 6 साल 7 साल. Now if you take the opinion of an average Indian, what will the average Indian suggest? तोड़ो, यही बोलेगा ना. अब वो हौसला रखो, संयम रखो, पेशेंस रखो, टॉलरेंस की रणनीति नहीं. That is why existence of Gandhi is now under question. Are Gandhian ideas relevant anymore today? Why we talk of it anymore? अभी हम लोग इस बात पे बात भी क्यों कर रहे हैं after so many years? 10 साल पहले तो कोई नहीं पूछता था गांधी रेलेवेंट है या नहीं रेलेवेंट है. अब पूछता है, क्यों? क्योंकि फ्रेम रीफ्रीज हो गया है. अब इंडिया चुप बैठने वालों में से नहीं. अब चाइना ऐसा नहीं कि चोटी हिला के चला जाएगा, छोड़ देगा इंडिया. ठीक है, वी आर गोइंग टू फाइट बैक. सो वी आर ट्राइंग टू ब्रेक द सॉफ्ट इमेज ऑफ द कंट्री. Now, how this whole process takes place, let us understand with the help of Gulf War. Convention, मैं एक डायग्राम बनाता हूं, पहले आप ये डायग्राम बना लीजिए. Contrariety of convention, that is opposite emotion of convention, is innovation, the new idea. And contradiction of convention is non-convention. Contradiction of convention is non-convention, and contradiction of innovation is non-innovation. Contradiction of innovation is non-innovation. Frame moving is step number 1. We have to first of all move people from convention to non-convention. And once we have moved people from convention to non-convention, sorry, this is not frame moving, frame breaking. Frame breaking. And then we have to move people to the new idea, which is called frame moving. And then successfully execution of new behavior will lead to frame refreezing. And non-innovation will be left with no choice. Non-innovation will be left with no choice. Now understand this. George Bush Sr. was an entrepreneur. He had several petrochemical refineries in Kuwait, and Kuwait was besieged by Saddam Hussein. So he wanted his property to be freed and therefore wanted US military to intervene. But he did not get the support of senators because after the Vietnam debacle, US has resolved not to interfere in internal matters of other countries because it led to great losses of US military. Now, how to convince the senators? The semiotics scientists prepared the speech of George Bush Sr. So he addressed the senators saying them that Saddam Hussein is another Hitler. If US keep going with the policy that we will follow the policy of non-intervention after Vietnam War, which has become the convention, if we continue with the convention, we are letting another Hitler to grow. And he will lead us towards Third World War. So he used fear appeal to break the trust with convention and made people accept non-convention. Okay, we are ready to experiment with something if it can prevent Saddam becoming a Hitler. So people now move to non-convention. This is called frame breaking. So non-intervention is no solution. Something else is a solution. Okay, we agree, non-convention. So what is the solution? Attack Iraq. 1991 Gulf War. And after attacking Iraq, Saddam was killed. And once Saddam was killed, senators were told, US people were told that now we are free from possibility of a Third World War. Frame refreezing. Okay? So by using fear appeal, people's opinion are moved from one frame to another frame, and then finally the new frame is refrozen. This is the idea of semiotic science. तो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री का जो स्पीच लिखता है या यूएस प्रेसिडेंट का जो स्पीच लिखता है, they are semiotic scientists. They know how to change public opinion, and that is why one leader is able to change the opinion of masses at large. इतना बड़ा change कैसे आता है? Now, one person can be convincing to another person, or maybe one or two person. But how can one person be convincing to millions? It is because of use of semiotic science.
Sir, nowhere it is taught the semiotic science. Na? How can be? There is no course such kind of the semiotic science in any other university. I searched that. So how can one become the semiotic?
It is a part of psycholinguistic semiotic science. Okay? If you are pursuing a course in psycholinguistic, you will have to learn semiotic science. Okay? Understood? Okay. And now the last topic from community psychology is influence of group on decision making. Independent topic है, इससे short questions separately आ सकते हैं. Influence of group on decision making. Social facilitation. One type of influence is social facilitation. Okay? Now I ask this class, you perform better in presence of an audience or in absence of an audience?
Sir, presence.
So when your performance improves in presence of an audience, in presence of a group, the phenomena is known as social facilitation. So your performance would have been average had you been alone. But in presence of competitors, in presence of viewers, your performance improved. Okay? Now, what type of behaviors increase in frequency in presence of audience? They are known as dominant responses. dominant responses are the most practiced and rehearsed responses. The frequency of dominant responses increase in presence of a group or audience. The most well-rehearsed behaviors increase in frequency in presence of an audience. Now you can understand why Shah Rukh Khan does overacting. So in presence of an audience, he starts miming more. करता है ना, वो ज्यादा frequently करेगा जब audience सामने में होगा, because that is the most well practiced response in that individual. तो ज्यादा मिमी आएगा जब audience होगा. Now, as early as 1897, Triplet conducted an experiment on bicyclists. Triplet conducted an experiment on the bicyclists who were riding the course. He observed that the speed of the bicyclist was slower when he was riding solo, as solo rider. The speed of the bicyclist was slower when he was riding solo rider, when he was riding alone as solo rider. His speed in the stopwatch was slow. But when he was made to compete with other bicyclists in paced condition, his speed increased. Under paced condition, the speed of the cyclist increased due to vacuum and suction. When made to participate in paced condition, paced का मतलब जहां रेस लग रहा, ठीक है, his speed increased due to vacuum and suction. Vacuum and suction. अभी देखो क्या है, बहुत सिंपल लॉजिक है इसका, वेरी सिंपल लॉजिक. You should understand that suppose this is the person P. He is motivated to achieve the goal. Motivation is a force that will attract him towards the goal, that will push him towards the goal, right? Now, what will be the strength of this force? The strength of the force will be very high when the goal is immediate, when the goal is nearer. But the strength of motivation will be very low when the goal is distant. है कि नहीं? How many of you are motivated to get married? Tell me. Someday you will. But what is the level of motivation right now? Not quite strong. Why? Because that's a distant goal. And how many of you are motivated to become a civil servant? All hands will rise, because that's an immediate goal. So the motivation is very powerful when the goals are nearer. You do not study the whole year, and as the exam approaches, it comes near, you get motivated to study. Yes, simple logic hai. Now, what happens in paced condition and what happens in solo condition? In solo condition, in absence of other riders, your goal is distant. I have to cover 8 rounds of the stadium before the activity or performance is completed. So 4 rounds is a distant goal. But when you are riding in presence of other cyclists, you have to just see that you fill the vacuum created by the cyclist ahead of you. So it will have a suction effect. मुझे कुछ नहीं, मुझे 8 चक्कर नहीं लगाने, मुझे बस ये जो सामने वाला बंदा है इतना गैप पूरा करना है. तो goal is immediate. So your power, the entire power of mind and body comes into work and you speed up. Because your job is not to complete 8 rounds. Your job is just to fill the gap left by the cyclist ahead. This is called vacuum and suction effect. So in presence of other people, social facilitation takes place. Social facilitation takes place, which improves our performance and especially the dominant responses.
Sir, please repeat the space condition.
क्या बोला मैंने?
Space conditions.
In paced condition, the individual is motivated to fill in the gap left by the rider ahead. ठीक है? Left by the rider ahead. And therefore, his speed enhances due to vacuum and suction. Second, social loafing. Another influence. Social loafing. It is the tendency to reduce one's optimum efforts because of the presence of group. It is the tendency to reduce one's optimum efforts because of the presence of group. हम जो मैक्सिमम एफर्ट दे सकते थे वो हमने नहीं दिया. क्यों? क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग थे. Now, how many of you have participated in your school or college time in the game of tug of war? Okay. Did you experience that you are not applying your full power? You applied your full power? Okay. Did you play tug of war with one individual? It was a group. Try playing with one individual, you will find what is a maximum power. In a group, the amount of power that you give is not optimum, it is reduced. In arm wrestle, you see maximum power because one individual is playing against the other. But in tug of war, a group of people are pulling, so you don't give your fullest power. Like if 4 or 5 people are lifting an Almiro, do you think that everybody is putting their maximum strength? No, they're putting their minimum strength. This is called social loafing. That means you just leave the responsibility of maximum power on the other and the other leaves on the other. And nobody gives the maximum power in the game of tug of war. Okay? But if you pull the rope individually, 1:1, then you will see who is most powerful. That will be evident. Okay? This is called social loafing. Likewise, we have bystander effect. One is not likely to get help in presence of many helpers. It's called bystander effect. One is not likely to get help in presence of many helpers, which is known as bystander effect. And the reasons are diffusion of responsibility. I'm not only responsible, there are other people as well. Pluralistic ignorance. We have already known these things. If many people are watching and nobody is intervening, the matter may not be serious. Pluralistic ignorance. And illusion of morality. So when many people have decided to do something, it must be a moral action. Panch Parmeshwar, Khap Panchayat, honor killing. So many people together cannot be wrong. Illusion of morality. So when group takes a decision, it is always a moral decision. This illusion is called illusion of morality. It is not always true that a group taking a decision is always correct or moral. Sati Pratha was a group decision. It was not moral at all. But people had that illusion that so many people cannot be wrong. So these are the factors which explain the bystander effect. Why people do not come forward to help or protest when there are too many in number. Then comes another influence of group that is called, should I change the page? Okay. It is known as group think. ये आपको अगर आप कलेक्टर बन जाते हैं तो आपको ये दिक्कत आएगी. Group think. Group think is a phenomena in which silence of the dissenting member, it is a phenomena in which the silence of the dissenting member. Who is the dissenting member? The member who is not in agreement with you, but he is not willing to argue against you. So groupthink is a phenomena in which silence of the dissenting member is misunderstood as his agreement. Silence of the dissenting member is mistaken as his or her agreement. आप मेरे खिलाफ नहीं बोल रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब आप मेरे साथ खड़े हैं. This is called groupthink. So what happens when the collector goes to the Gram Panchayat for making a decision? He thinks that I am taking a democratic decision by taking consensus of everybody. Now collector will throw an idea. He will drop an idea from his side. And immediately the ADM, the SDM, BDO, all will back up his opinion. Now the Sarpanch of the village will keep silent. Although he may not be happy with the decision, but he will keep silent because too many people are in support of the collector. He does not want to be seen as disloyal to the group. So he keeps silent, and the collector arrives at a concept that this decision was unanimously taken. This is called groupthink. Silence of the dissenting member is misunderstood as his acceptance or agreement. That is why these days Delphi method is being used. You know what is Delphi method? Nobody will verbally express their opinion. Everybody will write their opinion on a piece of paper without understanding their name and drop it in a Dropbox. To avoid the phenomenon of groupthink. ठीक है? Delphi method. Number 5, conformity. Conformity. Conformity is the phenomena of behaving according to the majority, behaving similar to the majority. Despite having differences in thoughts. Despite having differences in thoughts. So we have a tendency to conform with the majority's behavior. We do not like to be seen as odd man out. It is because of normative influence. Normative influence is one reason that we do what majority does, because we do not want to be seen as different from majority. Normative means norm, average. हम लोग भी norm के साथ जाना चाहते हैं. जो सब लोग कर रहे हैं हम लोग भी वही करेंगे, भले ही हम लोग उससे सहमत ना हो. ठीक है? So in this regard, did I tell you the experiment of Solomon Asch? Solomon Asch went to a college with his confederates. He pretended to be a professor and his confederates pretended to be students. And they sat within the real students in the class. Solomon Asch presented the class with two frames, A and B. Frame A had one line. Frame B had 3 lines of different lengths. 1, 2, 3. The class was asked that identify the line in frame B which is equal in length to the line in frame A. So obviously, which line? Line second is equal. But the question was passed to confederate. Confederate responded in favor of line 3. Confederate ने कहा line 3 is equal in length to line in frame A. Then the question was passed to second confederate. He also said line 3. The third one also said line 3. Fourth one also said line 3. And after 6 confederates, he asked a genuine student, which line? The genuine student also said line 3. ठीक है? तो जो सब करेंगे हम भी वही करेंगे. Although I have, अच्छा, but when the students were asked to give in writing, the genuine student who responded in favor of line 3 changed his response and responded in favor of line 2. This is known as compliance. So conformity means behaving similar to the majority. Compliance means behaving similar to the majority but holding to one's private beliefs. So when the student is asked to give in writing, he is giving his true opinion. And what is that? Line 2. Okay. And finally, problem solving. Number 6. Problem solving. Group are better problem solvers. Groups are better problem solvers because of the following. Because of the following. Pehla, more number of ideas are generated. In a group, more number of ideas are generated. Number 2, the retention of ideas are better. So one member may forget the steps, other will remember and remind. So better retention. Number 3, more control and vigilance. So the group will mount pressure on every individual to give their performance, to do their part. And 7th is time required. Group shares the time in absolute terms. Group shares the time in absolute terms and completes the task faster. Group shares the time in absolute terms and completes the task sooner. However, there is no difference in time between group and individual. There is no difference in time between group and individual when calculated as per man hours. When calculated as per man hours. So one man takes 4 days to plow a farm. 4 men will take how many days to plow the farm? 1 day. So in absolute time, the task will get over sooner. But in terms of man hours, 4 people are giving their full day. So 4 into 4, 16 man hours. 1 person working for 4 days, also 16 man hours. So in terms of man hours, there is no difference. But when we talk about absolute time, the absolute time gets compressed when people work in group. So this was community psychology. So tomorrow onwards, we are beginning with contemporary issues, abnormal psychology and therapy. Okay? No, if it is too much, then it will lead to flight or fight syndrome, freezing of action. Like some people, they choke their voice when they go for public speaking. So mild fear is good for performance. Excess fear will block, freeze the action. Aditi, whosoever wants, they can take the Xerox. So return me as soon as possible, maybe next week. The book, जिनको चाहिए ग्रुप में आप पूछ लो. Who? Huh? Hey, Lakshita was looking for the book. She's absent today. You just float it in the group. Whosoever wants, they can contact you. Okay. And you can get it Xerox downstairs in the basement. Okay. No need to Xerox the whole book. Only those sections which you think will help you in the exam. See you all.